Shifting now to one of our other top stories, despite COVID surge across the nation, Uttar Pradesh polls will go ahead as per schedule. EC reveals that all political parties want elections in Uttar Pradesh to take place as planned. In fact, we heard from the Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra just a short while back, where he said that the polls will go ahead as per schedule, but at the same time he assured that no voter is going to be left behind, that the voters are, that the EC will be at the doorstep of the voters if needed. None of them will be left behind, but essentially the polls will go ahead as per planned, as per schedule, and COVID norms will be followed in the elections, in the 5 state elections. He was specifically, of course, talking about Uttar Pradesh. The poll panel visited Uttar Pradesh after that appeal which was made by an Allahabad High Court judge, where he said that norms amid the rise in COVID cases in the state, whether it is advisable to hold elections at this point, whether it was possible to defer the polls post-February, 1 or 2 months after February or not. That was an appeal which was made by the Allahabad High Court judge, and what we can in fact see right now is that following that, Election Commission officials led by the Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra in fact visited Uttar Pradesh for 3 days. This was a press briefing that they held a short while back at the culmination of that visit, and essentially said that polls will go ahead as per schedule. But the concerns, of course, are also on your screens. As you can see, the huge gatherings, once again, no COVID norms being followed. Once again, the leaders who are supposed to lead by example at the forefront of flouting these norms. You can see there we are bringing you visuals of a rally from Akhilesh Yadav. Of course, as I said, it's not just about one party there. Violations being done by parties and leaders across party lines. These election rallies, as we've seen, even the ones which were held amid the second wave, did not follow any norms, any COVID norms. There were huge gatherings. So at a time when the country is actually facing the threat of an Omicron surge, and there are huge numbers of COVID cases being reported almost on a daily basis, there were concerns about holding assembly elections as per schedule early next year. And at this point in time, of course, the Election Commission is saying that it will go on as had in fact been decided early next year. Just to sum up what Sushil Chandra essentially had to say, the main concerns, of course, had been about COVID norms not being followed. Now, the Election Commission, with regard to that, is saying that they will try and ensure that COVID norms are followed on time, and that is something that they will be trying to ensure. I am joined on the broadcast by Mr. S.Y. Quariishi, former Chief Election Commissioner. Sir, Mr. Quariishi, thank you so much for joining us here on Mirror Now. But what is your advice, sir? What is your concern in terms of these elections being held as per schedule? I believe you had, in fact, said earlier that maybe rallies can go virtual, maybe campaigns can go virtual, even if we have to go ahead with elections on time. But at this point in time, of course, we don't really see any of the parties following that.
Yeah. Even if elections go on time, of course, it's not the question. They have to go on time. There is no question, and the postponing of election, the voices that are being raised, they're absolute, I don't want to use a strong word, but not practical, not constitutionally mandated. So I'm very happy that the Election Commission just now had made it clear that they are not postponing the election. That's a good thing. But I do feel that the date should be announced now immediately, because we are already cutting into the schedule which is permitted by the timetable. You know, by 15th of January, then first notification must issue if we have to ensure that the constitutional mandate.
Right.
And they've already lost for 5 days out of that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So now I should announce that without delay. Without delay at all.
Right, Mr. Quariishi, if you could hear me, as you said that, of course, the polls have to go on as per schedule. There's a lot, of course, at stake involved in that. But what would you say? I mean, the polls going on as scheduled at this point in time is given. But considering the kind of numbers that we are getting, is this the right way of doing it? That is, of course, the big question. We are facing certain technical issues. We will connect with Mr. Quariishi in a short while once again. But the former Chief Election Commissioner there, Mr. S.Y. Quariishi, essentially saying that it's a good thing that elections are being held on time. But of course, maybe there are certain measures that political parties can take in order to make it a more safer process. One of them could probably be more digital rallies and campaigns.